I've seen great similarities, and I'm enjoying it.
How are the Germans feeling about the possible arrival of the English in the European Championships? People have been talking to you about it?
No, I think if the truth be known, I think everyone in Europe would like to see the English teams back in the European competitions. Like hopefully next year, possibly we may get back in. I don't know.
And what about in the European Championships? Are people beginning to talk about the possibility of Germany playing England?
Not as yet, but I think they always have a look at England results, and I think they've been quite impressed in recent months.
Just to get back to your own position, you're under contract to Bayern until the end of the season, is that?
That's right, yeah. Just I've signed until I think the end of May or end of June, I'm not too sure. So we'll just have to see how it goes from there.
Well, if you go on playing like that, I don't mind where you play, as long as we can watch you.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Barry.
Mark Hughes, formerly of Barcelona, and the same can be said now of Terry Venables. And as Terry prepares to make his managerial debut with Spurs, Barcelona, the club who fired him, are struggling to recover their form, and Gary Lineker is certainly helping them. This Lineker goal gave Barcelona victory at Real Betis at the weekend, only his second of the season, but he got 2 in the UEFA Cup tonight. By contrast, Monaco extended their lead in the French league. Hoddle and Haitley among the scorers. Hoddle's first in the 27th minute, the first for the French side, and then Hoddle was involved in the move that completely split the Lens defence, finishing with a simple goal for Haitley. Monaco winning 3-0. In the Scottish Premier Division last night, Hearts beat Dunfermline 3-2 at Tynecastle to stretch their lead to 3 points. Tonight, Celtic had the chance to close the gap again if they could beat St Mirren at Parkhead. This Celtic goal decided it. Archie McPherson, the commentator.
Counter-attack, Celtic. Billy Starr. That's a winner ball, McAvenny. That'd be a great chance. There's a save, but it's in. Grant pulling up. 1-0. You felt at any second it had to come. The Celtic tide, irresistible. The run by Stark and McAvenny getting that chip there. A very good header down. And there was a kind of support that's so valuable. Player coming from the deep. Peter Grant, 1-0.
1-0 the final score, and that means that at the top of the Scottish Premier Division, Celtic are back within 1 point of Hearts, who played and won last night. Well, tomorrow is an important day in the career of Watford manager Dave Bassett. After the bad results this season, he's been summoned to a board meeting at Vicarage Road to be chaired by John Holleran, chairman of Robert Maxwell's BPCC publishing company, who have bought out Elton John's controlling interest in the club. That deal is still to be investigated by the Football League at a management meeting that's also tomorrow. The Maxwell Company already owners of First Division Derby County and Oxford, so an appropriate time to look at the growing influence of Robert Maxwell in the game, which is what Tony Gubber has done.
Robert Maxwell never hesitates to show that his wallet is thick enough to use as a truncheon, and no one, he believes, should question his purchase of 3 clubs.
How do you think football will react to the fact that
That's up to football, not to me.
No, but how do you think they will react?
I don't care.
Sunday's self-indulgence as chairman of Derby County revealed the schoolboy side of a 64-year-old multimillionaire whose hobby of collecting football clubs now demands an explanation.
He's got a big ego. I mean, and he's a man who's been described, had a Department of Trade inquiry on the one hand about the way he ran his company, and then on the other hand, he's there saving the Commonwealth Games. I think he's quite a complex character, really.
Maxwell was closely observed at Oxford by anthropologist Desmond Morris.
He's a man who is ruthless, certainly in business. He's a man who, despite the cold ruthlessness of his business dealings, has beneath the surface a very there's a sentimental area. There's a curiously sort of soft area there somewhere, which one sees surfacing in terms of his unabashed pleasure at winning a cup or winning a match.
Robert Maxwell was born in Czechoslovakia and decorated with the Military Cross as a British war hero. He came to Oxford with his Pergamon press empire in 1969 and took up stately residence in Headington Hill Hall. It was regarded as a fine philanthropic gesture by the former Labour MP when he put up £150,000 to save 3rd Division Oxford from bankruptcy in 1982. Under his chairmanship, a weekly loss of £2,000 was turned into profit within a year, and subsequently Oxford climbed to Division 1 and won the Milk Cup. But the fans revolted against his plan to merge Oxford with Reading under the name the Thames Valley Royals. And in 1984, he was unsuccessful again, this time with a bid of £10 million to buy Manchester United. But a man with money is always welcome in football somewhere, and within a month he'd switched his interest to Derby County, where an overdraft of £1.5 million had brought the club to the brink of extinction. Once again, his arrival was followed by promotion to Division 1. Was he now happy?
So we won't be hearing that Robert Maxwell is after another big club?
No.
What's the explanation now that Watford is to become the latest Maxwell acquisition with the £2 million purchase of Elton John's shares?
Why should I respond? That's their problem. Liverpool and Everton are owned by the Moore family. Is anybody worried about that?
What is it about football that particularly interests you so much that you want to have so many associations?
I'm a supporter of football, and if Elton John asks us to take over from him Watford, and we care about Watford and the club, it's a very, relatively speaking, small sum, and BPC is very happy to support it.
Maxwell once said, "The minute I'm not wanted, I'll leave." But how do the professional footballers regard a man whose companies own 15% of the First Division?
I'm happy for anybody to put the money into the game if it's for the right reasons. But the league has to be careful. We need to have a credible competition, and such things as transfer fees would need to be looked at closely between the two clubs. Now, if there was a proper watchdog, I think the game should welcome him.
I don't really think there's any danger from one branch of a family owning one club and another branch owning another, because family rivalry becomes the most important thing. However, I am concerned that an employee should be the chairman of Watford. I think having one's boss as a rival chairman is not a good arrangement. I think he should give Watford to one of his... He's got a lot of children. He could give it to Ghislaine, for example. She's the director of Oxford United.
In the planet of apes that we are, and you've told us in the past, where does Robert Maxwell stand? Which role does he fill?
A very dominant animal.
Are there professional footballers in the game today who may not be still playing football if Robert Maxwell hadn't bought either Oxford or Derby, or maybe, you know...
I think I have to say that. I think, on balance, his involvement in football so far has been for the good and not for the bad.
So you would say he's more saint than sinner?
Yes.
Now, Robert Maxwell's Watford ambitions, subject of a Football League Management Committee meeting tomorrow. Well, that's rounded off the soccer. Before it gets any later, we better head off to the Preston Guildhall. Steve Davis